Have you ever found yourself pouring everything into someone, only to realize they're not giving you the same energy back? You text first, you make plans, you're always there. Somehow, it's never enough. And deep down, you know something is off, but you don't know how to fix it. What if I told you the answer isn't doing more, but doing less? What if the key to finally being valued isn't in chasing or begging for attention, but in stepping back, letting the silence speak, and watching as everything shifts? When you stop showing up first, when you stop answering the calls, when you stop bending over backwards just to be seen, that's when you become unforgettable. It's not about playing games or manipulating feelings. It's about reclaiming your power and showing the world, including him, that you're worth the effort. This isn't a trick. It's not about being cold. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't up for negotiation. And the only way to make that clear is by letting them see what they stand to lose. Curious yet? Let's dive into why disappearing might just be the most powerful thing you'll ever do. We've all been there, feeling taken for granted, chasing someone who used to chase us. And in that moment, you ask yourself, what changed? But the real question is, what have you allowed to keep changing without pulling back? Let me tell you something powerful. Your presence only has value when it's not taken for granted. If someone expects you to always be there, they stop appreciating what you bring. Sometimes you need to disappear, not to manipulate, but to reset the balance. You see, attraction isn't kept alive by constant contact. It's kept alive by perception, by how rare, grounded, and confident you are. When you stop showing up to every call, every plan, every need, he starts wondering where you went, why you're no longer orbiting his world. Men chase what they fear losing. If you're always there, always understanding, always bending, you're not giving him a reason to fight for you. But the second you disappear, he starts noticing the silence. That gap in his routine, that's you. That's your worth echoing in your absence. But this isn't about ghosting or punishment. It's about showing him what you won't tolerate. If someone's behavior isn't rising to meet your standard, you don't argue with them, you exit. That choice, that quiet boundary, it speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. And here's what matters most. The right person will feel your distance and move toward you. He won't let you drift away. He'll chase, he'll correct, he'll show up. But if he doesn't, then your disappearance just gave you the clarity you didn't know you needed. So don't be afraid to step away. You're not being cold. You're protecting your peace. And the kind of woman who can walk away with grace. She's the one who's truly unforgettable. There was a woman, let's call her Maya, smart, grounded, kind, the kind of woman who gave fully when she loved. She met someone who lit her up, someone who said all the right things, made her laugh, and made promises with eyes full of charm. In the beginning, it felt like magic. Maya didn't hold back. She showed up for the good mornings, the late-night rants, the stressful days, the insecure moments. She was there when he needed a cheerleader, a listener, a soft place to land. And for a while, he seemed to appreciate it. He even said, "You're different. You get me." But slowly, something shifted. His texts started coming later. Plans became vague. That enthusiastic energy he once brought to the relationship, it dulled. And Maya, in her loving, giving way, tried harder. She gave more, just to feel less. She convinced herself he was just busy, overwhelmed. Life, right? And yet something inside her started to ache. It wasn't just his distance. It was the sinking feeling that her value was being quietly diluted. Not because she wasn't valuable, but because she was always available. Here's the truth. No one tells you when your heart is involved. When your presence is constant, it begins to blend into the background. Like music that plays in every store, every elevator. You don't stop to appreciate it. You don't really hear it anymore. But the second it's gone, the silence is deafening. That's when Maya made the decision, not out of anger, but clarity. She didn't text him first. She stopped rearranging her schedule. She chose herself for once. Quietly, without announcement or punishment, she stepped back. And then something happened. The man who had taken her for granted, he noticed. He noticed that her name wasn't lighting up his phone. He noticed that the emotional safety net he always expected was suddenly missing. The person who had made his life easier was no longer just there. He started to feel what she had felt all along, the discomfort of absence. You see, when someone's always there, we get comfortable. We stop looking closely. We stop appreciating. But the moment someone pulls away, not as a game, but as a boundary, we're forced to reckon with their true value. Absence doesn't create love, but it reveals it. And here's the deeper lesson Maya learned, the one I want you to hold on to. Your presence becomes powerful when you're willing to remove it. That's when people decide. That's when clarity is born, not just for them, but for you too. She didn't disappear to make him chase. She disappeared because she deserved to be missed. And whether he came back or not became less important than how she finally saw herself, not as someone desperate to be chosen, but someone worthy of being noticed. That's not playing hard to get. That's knowing you're hard to forget. So if you're sitting there wondering why you're not being appreciated, that's where we left Maya, standing in the quiet, not waiting, just finally listening to the silence. But here's what happened next, and this part, it's the one most people never see coming. Within a few days of her absence, Maya's phone lit up. Not once, not twice, but enough times to make her blink. Suddenly, he remembered how much he missed talking to her. Suddenly, he had just been overwhelmed and wasn't trying to ignore her. All of a sudden, the man who had been slow, cold, vague, was now curious, attentive, even a little nervous. Why? What changed? It wasn't proximity. It wasn't her constant presence that brought him back. It was the shift in how he perceived her. See, when you're always available, when you reply instantly, when you show up without needing to be asked, you think you're creating closeness. And yes, in healthy connections, consistency is beautiful. But in situations where someone hasn't earned that access, too much availability too soon feels like pressure, not value. Here's what no one tells you. Attraction doesn't need closeness. It needs clarity. And that clarity comes when you become a question in someone's mind, not a guarantee. When Maya disappeared, she became a question again. Where did she go? Was she upset? Is she done? Is she seeing someone else? Before, she was a song on repeat, easy to skip. But now? Now she was a rare melody that he couldn't get out of his head. That's what perception does. People don't chase what they assume they already have. They chase what they believe could slip away. This is where the magic happens, not in playing games, but in understanding the psychology of desire. Desire needs space to grow. It needs mystery. It needs that subtle sense of, I want more, but I'm not sure if I can have it. Maya didn't create that shift by being manipulative. She created it by finally aligning her energy with her self-worth. She wasn't trying to seem mysterious. She simply stopped explaining herself. She stopped handing out VIP access to someone who hadn't even bought a ticket to her show. And in doing so, she flipped the script. Because when someone perceives you as always available, they take you for granted. But when you create space, they begin to reevaluate who you are to them. You go from ordinary to unforgettable, not because you changed who you were, but because they finally had to look. It's not the distance that draws them in. It's what that distance forces them to realize. So if you're wondering why someone isn't chasing you, ask yourself, have I made myself too easy to reach, too predictable, too present? The harsh truth, constant proximity can kill mystery, but strategic silence, that shifts perception. And when perception shifts, so does everything else. Because attraction isn't about how often you're in his world, it's about how he sees you when you're not. And once he starts seeing you differently, the chase begins. It's subtle at first, a text that comes faster than usual, a call, though you didn't expect. The sudden appearance of effort, real, intentional effort, it catches you off guard. You might even wonder, is this genuine? Or is he just reacting to the silence? But what's really happening isn't about you changing, It's about the fear of loss finally sinking in. You see, men don't chase what's always there. They chase what they believe is starting to slip through their fingers, and that fear, it activates something primal, an instinct to pursue, to correct, to protect what he now realizes might not be his anymore. Let's go back to Maya. She wasn't trying to make him jealous. She wasn't trying to punish him. She was just gone, genuinely gone, emotionally, mentally, energetically. She wasn't looking back, checking if he noticed. That's what made it powerful. And the moment he felt that shift, he panicked. He didn't say it out loud, but his behavior screamed it. The man who couldn't find time before was suddenly a free tonight. The one who brushed her off now wanted her to talk to clear the air. The guy who said he wasn't ready for anything serious was now hinting at her not wanting to lose something real. Why? Because in her silence he finally heard the message her presence never delivered. You don't get unlimited access to me just because I care. Caring doesn't mean tolerating less than I deserve. And here's what we all need to understand. Fear of loss creates urgency. Urgency creates action. That's why so many people don't act until it's almost too late, until they feel the void, not just notice it. It's not the thought of losing you that gets them moving. It's the moment they believe you're actually gone. And that moment, it shifts everything. This is why disappearing can be so powerful, not as a tactic, but as a truth. When you pull away, you trigger a realization. You are not permanent unless treated like a priority. We live in a world of instant gratification. If someone believes they can text you whenever, see you whenever, drop in and out of your life like it's a revolving door, they won't value you deeply. But if they believe they've lost you, if they sense that the door is no longer open, they either evolve or exit. And either way, you win. You win your peace. You win clarity. You win the respect you weren't getting before. So if you're wondering, should I step back? Should I disappear? Will it even make a difference? Ask yourself this. Have you been holding the relationship together on your own? Has your presence been earned or just expected? Because when a man feels he's losing something truly rare, something with depth, warmth, intelligence, energy, he'll move, he'll chase. Not because you forced him to, but because the fear of losing you finally woke him up. And if he doesn't chase, then that's your answer too. Because when someone isn't afraid to lose you, they were never planning to keep you in the first place. It stings, realizing someone enjoyed your presence, benefited from your love, but never truly intended to match your effort. And while it's painful, it's also powerful, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And more importantly, you can't keep pretending. Because she knew what so many of us forget. Distance doesn't weaken a real connection. It only weakens what was never strong to begin with. Think about it. When someone values you, the space you create doesn't push them away. It pulls them in. It challenges them. It calls them to action. Not through guilt, not through manipulation, but through a deep internal shift that sounds like, I don't want to lose this. But if your connection crumbles the second you stop initiating, if the effort dies the moment you step back, that wasn't a relationship. That was a performance. And you were the only one on stage. Maya watched from a distance. At first the messages came, the check-ins, but soon the energy faded. The chase wasn't followed by change. It was followed by retreat, and it was in that distance that Maya found her answer. Not through words, but through behavior. Yeah. Because space forces the truth to surface, it shows you who is emotionally mature enough to close the gap and who was only interested when you were easy to reach. It reveals who is willing to grow and who was only showing up because you made it effortless. Maya didn't need to make a dramatic exit. She didn't block him. She didn't call him out. She simply stepped back and let the space do what words never could. And here's what you need to remember. The wrong person will be relieved by your distance. The right person will be shaken by it. The wrong person will take your silence as an excuse to disappear. The right person will feel your absence like a heartbeat gone missing. Distance doesn't kill love, it tests it. and a connection that collapses under the weight of silence was never built to hold you anyway. So if you're wondering what someone truly feels about you, don't just watch how they act when you're around. Watch how they act when you're not. Because space doesn't create disconnection, it reveals it. And sometimes the only way to see the truth is to step back far enough to let it rise to the surface. And when the truth finally rises, you don't react, you realign. That's what Maya did. The silence didn't just reveal him, it revealed her. Who she had become, what she had been accepting, and most importantly, what she was no longer willing to carry. Because disappearing, truly disappearing, isn't a... It says, now you don't need to scream my worth. I just need to stop giving it away to someone who doesn't see it. And here's the final truth that ties this all together. You don't disappear because you want him to chase you. You disappear because you're done chasing someone who was never really showing up, and whether he chases or not, that's no longer the point. Because the real victory isn't in getting him back, it's in getting yourself back. Your confidence, your peace, your self-respect, your standards. So if you're still holding on, still hoping your absence will make him change, remember this: your power was never in being available. It was in knowing when to walk away, quietly, completely, unapologetically, not to teach him a lesson, but to remember who you are. Would you like me to compile all 6 keynote chapters into one cohesive narrative or speech format for a video, talk, or personal use? In the end, disappearing isn't a strategy, it's a statement. It says, I know my value. I no longer audition for roles I've already outgrown. When you step back, you don't just give him space to chase, you give yourself space to see clearly. You stop confusing availability with love, effort with worth, and silence with loss. The right man will feel your absence and rise to meet your standard. The wrong one will fade, and that too is a gift, because distance doesn't just reveal the truth about others, it reveals the truth about you, about your strength, your boundaries, your ability to let go with grace. You don't disappear to be missed. You disappear because you finally remember that you never needed to be chosen to be complete. And if he comes back, you'll meet a woman who doesn't need chasing because she's already chosen herself. So disappear not to punish, but to protect your peace. And when you do, the world around you changes. Because the moment you stop chasing is the moment everything meant for you finally knows where to find you.